at our weakest moments, when we're thrown this bad news and we're given these scenarios of choices and options, we begin to doubt. And but yet, yeah, I have religion. And instead of stopping in that moment and praying and holding my daughter and saying everything's going to be okay, I chose to clam up. I chose to fear. I chose to cry, and I chose to become scared. But instead, I should have, prayed, and I should have said, God, take over.
Believed.
Yes.
Yes.
And but we choose that so
Mhm.
often to go to the negative or to say, "Oh, in this doubt and fear, let's really just pray now." When all along we should have not been doubting, and we should have prayed, and we should have reached for God first.
That's right.
And so, "Ain't You Got No Religion" became my theme through this whole birth, through this whole pregnancy.
Mm.
Since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the pro life movement has changed, and so has the way we fight for the unborn. Many celebrated and stepped back, thinking the war was over, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Abortion didn't end, it just slipped out of sight. And when no one is watching, injustice thrives. We're here to show you why the battle still rages on and how to stand, speak, and fight back in a post Roe world. This is the CPC Podcast.
Hey, and welcome back to the CPC Metro podcast, everybody, and welcome in if you guys are new. My name's Chrissy. The Center for Pregnancy Choices is the largest pregnancy resource center in the state of Mississippi, and we exist to empower the choice for life. I'm so excited to introduce the guest that we have in the studio today. She is a businesswoman, a community leader, a wife, a mother, and probably most affectionately, a mama. We love a good mama. She and her husband, Sid, have been married for 34 years, and she is the newly elected president of the Rankin County Republican Women. She and her husband run several assisted living facilities in the Jackson metro area, and probably the one that she spends her most time at would be the Villa South.
Right.
And when she is not doing any of that, she is at racetracks and rodeos and ballparks cheering on her family. So it is my joy to welcome to the show Miss Beth Scarbrough.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much for being here. You're busy.
I am busy, just a little
So I know
bit.
you have carved out some time to sit
Yes.
and talk with us
And I'm so
today.
excited to be here.
Well, it's so great to have you. Now, before we jump in, I did read your bio, and this is not exactly the way that I wanted to start this conversation, but I have to
Okay.
ask because it means so much to me that you and your husband own and operate these assisted living
Yes.
facilities. So my granny, about a little over a year ago, moved into an assisted living facility.
Okay.
And it was hard because my granny and I have always been super close. She's 90 now. And so it was hard at first. And so I've prayed about it. And when I've gone to visit her, um, there's this one nurse who I have a really good relationship with. And early on, I pulled her aside and I said, "Thank you so much for what you do for caring for my granny." And she looked at me and she said, "My parents died at a young age. These are my parents." And so like I have a very special place in my heart for people that care for the elderly. Like she cares for my granny just like she would her own mother
Right.
if she were alive. So I think that the work that you guys do is just as equally pro life as the work that we do over at the CPC.
Absolutely. It really is. And my family not being here in Mississippi, it gives me a purpose. And it took me a long time to find what my purpose is.
Mm.
Owning a daycare first and then going into the assisted living facility field, it is it is my purpose. It is the need to care for somebody. And that is what I look for when we staff our facility. It is people who genuinely care, have a heart and passion for people. And that is
Mhm.
exactly what the CPC does. It is loving people, and it is our purpose. It is what God tells us to do, to love others as he has loved us. And that is what we do. We love people. And it is not where anybody wants to. You don't want to
Mhm.
be in a facility. You don't want to give up your home. Families don't want to leave their loved ones, and so that's what we do. We fill it with love. We make it their final home,
Right.
and that is what I promise people when they leave their loved ones with us, that we will love them like they're our own, and
Right.
that's what we do. And like I said, that is what I finally had to realize is my purpose. And it took me a long time to realize that is really what God intended for me to do, was to
Mhm.
love others. And sometimes I felt like that was insignificant, but now looking back at having, like, I owned a daycare for 12 years too.
Right.
And so realizing that I need to be needed by others was really where God has used me most,
Right.
and that it is significant and it is my calling. It took me a long time to realize that,
Right.
but now I know that, and not just within my family, but within my community. And
Right.
I'm okay with that. I know it is exactly where God's using me now.
Right. And the phrase is from womb to tomb,
Exactly.
and that's
I
why,
love that.
we
I love that.
focus on the unborn but if you care for people with special needs, the elderly, people that are left out, unseen,
Right.
all of it counts for the kingdom.
It does
It goes back to Matthew 25, whatever you did for the least of these brothers of mine, you also did for
for
me.
me.
So,
Exactly.
so we're so happy to have you here today, and
Thank
I know that
you.
it's going to be just a great talk. So I know a little bit about your story.
Yes.
You just had your story published in a
Yes.
book. That's
Yes.
exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Ain't you got no religion? Um, great story. I really wanted it to be a book, and God had other plans for me.
Mhm.
I have this legal pad that I've started this story on so many times, and I just keep putting it in my desk drawer. And I couldn't get it together. I just couldn't get it put into words,
Mhm.
which, if you know me, I'm not short on words ever. I love to talk.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get it to fall into place. And so this opportunity fell in right into my lap, where we could share a short story about how God had touched us, how God had used us in a moment, how God had touched our lives. And I'm like, this is it. This is my story
Mhm.
to tell. And Ain't You Got No Religion is exactly words that were said to me as I sat in my OBGYN's office one day. Um, so I got a surprise little announcement. I was pregnant, became pregnant at 40. Totally surprised. Life was rocking on. My oldest son was 16. Our daughter was 13. My husband had just bought this race car, going out into this new adventure. Don't even ask why. We don't know. I think he was having a midlife crisis. And so everything was rocking in our family, but everybody was going in different directions.
Mhm.
So my son, who was 16, had this sweet blonde-haired girlfriend who is now my daughter-in-law. This big red truck. He was rodeoing full time. My husband bought this race car. My 13-year-old had decided I wasn't the coolest mom ever. She had her little friend group who were so much cooler than I was now, and was playing softball and doing her thing. And I was just kind of home. And I was like, again, I wasn't
Wow.
really needed. And I was kind of
Yeah.
feeling left out, and everybody going in different directions. And God, just like his sense of humor, said, you know what? This family's kind of falling apart, kind of shifting. And so 40-year-old
Surprise.
mom goes to the doctor thinking I'm fully diagnosed by Google. I was
Sure.
in perimenopausal. I'd read
Sure.
every symptom, everything. I diagnosed
Dr.
myself.
Google.
Goes, yes, love him. And however he can be wrong. And I go for my yearly annual checkup, and I'm sitting there in the little waiting room. They call me back, and honey, your test was positive. And I'm like, oh, test for what? They're like, well, honey, you're pregnant. And I go into this hysterical laughing to crying. And I'll never forget this lady sitting beside me. It's like, well, honey, are you okay? Is this your first baby? I'm like, no, are you kidding? I'm like 40 years old, and I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. And I'm like, no, I'm way too
Right.
busy to have a baby. No, what are you
She's
kidding?
going to
And
know you real well by the time that you walk
like
out
the
of
poor
there, huh?
lady's like, oh my gosh, get away from me. And I remember walking back into the doctor's office just dying laughing. I'm like, there's no way. He's like, Beth, yeah, congratulations. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, and I'm like, how am I going to tell my kids? And so anyway, fast forward, we, proceed to go on to the doctor visits. And I believe this was the one where I think we were going to find out if we were having a boy or girl. So
Right.
Sarah Beth, my 13-year-old daughter,
Anatomy scan.
yes, is going with me. And they've already, stamped my chart in these bright red letters, AMA, advanced maternal aged. And I had to realize what that was. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, you might as well stamp it old. Like, how
Right.
degrading is this? I'm like, I
Yes.
don't think I'm that old, but okay.
Geriatric pregnancy.
Yes.
I also had one of those.
Yeah, that's terrible. Like, why do they do that to you? You're already feeling like you're so
Exactly.
ancient coming in there. And so we're sitting there in the room, and we've gone down, and Sarah Beth has gone with me because we were going to go shopping for outfits afterwards, and we're so excited. And
A pink or a blue.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
And she wants to buy pink, and I'm like, whatever, we're
Mhm.
fine. And they've already gone over all this whole, do you want to have these tests? Do you want to do this? Da 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 da. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. If God decided we're going to have this baby, we're having this baby.
That's
We
right.
don't need any of this stuff done. And being,
Are you talking about the genetic
yes,
testing?
all the
Okay,
genetic tests, all
sure.
that, everything. And we're like, we're good. And we come back, and I can kind of tell by the girl who does the sonogram and everything. And I'm sorry, I know she has names that are
Sure.
more correct than the sonogram girl.
Right.
Um, I could kind of tell there's kind of something going on. There's a lot of whispering, a lot of stuff, and tons of paperwork coming out of that machine.
Mhm.
And so we walked back up there, and I can remember the doctor holding my hand and saying, "Now, Beth, this is pretty serious. We need to talk about this," and blah blah blah. And he's going on to this. I look at Sarah Beth, and she's crying, and the sweet little nurse goes over there and takes her hand, and he's saying more stuff, and I'm really not listening. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, give it to me in better terms. I don't understand what you're saying. He's like, "Well, there's some birth defects, and there's this and this," and he goes, "But it's not too late to abort."
The
And I can,
doctor.
yes, and I can remember like, "What?" I'm like, "Are you kidding?" And I'm like, "That's not even an option for me." I'm like, "God's already given me this. We've already planned, are you kidding me?" And I can remember just like internally just feeling nauseous.
Mhm.
And and I'm like, we already know what we're having. Like
Right.
what? And
But
I
it
remember,
came from a doctor,
yes, from
so
the
that
doctor
probably caught
sitting
you off
there.
guard
And I
too.
just really had not even crossed my mind. And I remember just feeling sick, and I began crying, and Sarah Beth was crying, and I asked the nurse, I said, "Can you please take her?" And about that time, he said, "We're going to run some more tests." And this sweet little lab girl comes in. And I remember thinking everybody looked so young then because, of course, I was advanced maternal age, so I was old.
Right.
And she grabs my hand and she said, looks at me so serious, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I remember, and she goes, "Ain't you got no religion?" And I said, "What did you just say to me?" And she said, "Ain't you got no religion?" And it was kind of like she slapped me in the face.
Mm.
And I said, "Well, of course I've got religion." And I'm like, "Don't you know who I am? My grandfather was a preacher. My daddy was a song leader. Like,
Right.
yes, I got
Ready to
religion." She goes,
rattle off all these
"Yeah."
things.
And she's like, "Why are you crying? Why are you upset?" And I'm like, "You know what? I don't know why." And I said, "I do have religion. I do have faith." And she took me off and she drew my blood. And I remember just staring. And she was just this young girl. And she has no idea what impact that made on me. I mean, it caused me to write this. It caused me to get on this platform and to believe that, yes, at our weakest moments, when we're thrown this bad news and we're given these scenarios of choices and options, we begin to doubt. And but yet, yeah, I have religion. And instead of stopping in that moment and praying and holding my daughter and saying everything's going to be okay, I chose to clam up. I chose to fear. I chose to cry, and I chose to become scared. But instead, I should have, prayed, and I should have said, "God, take over."
Believed.
Yes.
Yes.
And but we choose that so
Mhm.
often to go to the negative or to say, "Oh, in this doubt and fear, let's really just pray now." When all along we should have not been doubting, and we should have prayed, and we should have reached for God first.
That's right.
And so, "Ain't you got no religion" became my theme through this whole birth, through this whole pregnancy.
Mm.
And what I really feel bad about is I don't ever remember seeing that lab tech again.
Mm.
I don't remember seeing her. I looked for her
Right.
so many times after I went back. And my dad believes she was just a little angel that God put there for me.
I
And I
mean,
seriously
that's a
don't doubt that.
possibility.
I really do. We walk among them. God says it in his word.
That's
He tells
right.
us that they're
Hebrews.
there. Yeah.
Mm.
And I really do believe that she was there that day working for me and to make me, I know it really touches me. And I wish I knew her so I could say, "Do you know what you gave me that day? You gave
Right.
me strength. You re-strengthened my faith. You made me really see something." And through that, my pregnancy was stronger. My faith in God became strong, which I never doubted my faith. I've
Right.
always, I mean, I really do have a faith that is strong. But at that moment, and then what God did through that pregnancy was take this family that was going in so many directions and made us come so close. And this little baby that then came into our lives on December 22nd, weighing in at 5 pounds and 4 ounces, just like a little sack of sugar,
Oh.
just became our little light of joy. And so the story went on. So many people prayed for him. Every ultrasound after that, there was not good news. His head was too large, his heartbeat was irregular, his arms were too short. It was something just constant. Just I do believe the devil was just trying to get into our heads.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just something. And each time it was like, you know what, it's okay. And then the funny part about this was that during this entire pregnancy, there was a lawsuit being filed against the daycare that
Oh, wow.
I honestly would have let it wreck me because that's how I am. The daycare was my life.
Sure.
And I, took it at heart, but my husband had to handle it. I didn't have time.
That's right.
I was,
You
a
don't have
life
the
was
time,
being
you don't
born.
have the
Yep.
strength.
I couldn't do it. So Sid had to take care of every bit of it, and he did. He handled it like a champ. I showed up for depositions. No idea what I said. No idea. It was all washed out, and it came out just perfectly fine. But subpoenas were being served to me, and I was like, oh, I don't even know what this is. Like, okay, here's
Right.
the paperwork, here's the stuff. And I just mingled through it. Sid handled it. It was all done. And I was just concerned with this baby and my
Mm-hmm.
children that I had to protect during
Yeah.
this, and make sure that they knew what we were dealing with and what was
Mm-hmm.
going on. And it really just, God carried us through that entire um, time of the pregnancy. And then December 22nd, this little baby was born, and he was okay. The challenges that he faced were very manageable. There was absolutely, I mean, he came out screaming and peeing at the same time. The poor little
My
nurse.
second child
Okay,
did that. So
like,
yeah, we
yeah,
have a special bond
yeah.
now
This is
because
it.
I
This
tell
is it.
people that story and they're like, "Oh,
I'm like,
okay."
I was
It was not
apologizing. Yeah,
the moment that I pictured, but
yeah.
here we go.
That's what he did, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing to the nurse and everybody he's
Right.
waiting on, and
Right.
we had a room full of the waiting room full of my kids' friends and coaches and um, people from church that had just prayed and prayed for this child, and it was
Mm-hmm.
it was really a good moment. Family from out of town, and then tables turned. It just fell apart. Um, that advanced maternal age, this body gave out, and I began to hemorrhage. And as everybody was celebrating the health of the baby, I was back there fighting for my life. And it happened to be my mother-in-law who decided, we haven't heard from Beth for a while. I'm going back and seeing what's going on. She barged through those doors and they're can't be back, get back. And she was determined. And she fought back to finally got to the head nurse and like, ma'am, we're having some difficulties. And so they finally allowed Sid to get back there. And all I remember is um, just being very cold. And I remember them yelling stat.
Mm-hmm.
And having worked at a medical
Right.
doctor's
You know
office, I
what
remember
that
stat
means.
was like rush, rush. And they were yelling for the doctor to return back. And I remember very vividly um, closing my eyes and seeing Sid, my husband, with my two older children, Scooter. He's a third, Sidney Paul Scarborough the third, so we call him Scooter.
Oh,
Very,
cute.
very Southern. Scooter, he's 32 now. And Sarah Beth, and I remember Seth Parker being in Sid's hands. And I just remember standing there and seeing them and thinking, they need me. And
There it is.
that's it. And that need to be needed again. And I couldn't let go. And so from there, the next 2 days were very hard recovery. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember the doctor that delivered Parker, my doctor, he left for Christmas break. He was done. The baby was delivered and everything
Mm-hmm.
was good. And he left. So I saw several doctors, and visitors were very slim because of Christmas coming and people were going on. And my parents had come down to be with me through that. And Christmas Eve, they finally said, okay, we've got your numbers where we feel like you're stable. Um, and we're going to let you go home. So they brought me little Seth Parker in this big red stocking.
Stop.
It was the greatest thing. I mean, it was huge. We still have it. We hang it up every Christmas.
That's
And
amazing.
so we all buckle him in and we get into the car. And as we pull away from the hospital, snow flurries come down. Mississippi on
No
Christmas Eve, it very
way.
rarely
That's
snows.
a dream.
Yeah, it's great. So I'm like, perfect
It's like,
picture.
thanks God.
I know.
That
I'm
was
like,
so nice of you to give me that snow.
I'm like, here it is,
for
this
Christmas
blessing. We're
with a baby.
all headed home with the snow. Then we get pulled over because my the car tag hadn't been renewed. He let us go though, sweet little highway
Right.
patrolman. He let
Unless
us go.
he wants to
Get out and write a
hear
ticket. Yeah.
no, I would just tell him a 2-hour story. You can
Sir,
either
here we
listen to
go.
my story or let me go
Please
home
let
with
me
my brand new
go.
baby.
So, yeah, please let us go. But he did. He did. He was sweet and let us go. And we get home, and my mother-in-law's there, and she's prepared this spread of food, and it's great. And my
Mhm.
parents are there, and everything's rocking. And we think we're getting ready to go, have Christmas. And
Mhm.
we eat, and they're like, "Let us take care of the baby, Beth. Go rest, go rest." And
Mhm.
then um, I hear everybody, and I'm laying down. It's just a sweet sound of Christmas, new baby, and it's kind of like a relief, and everything's good. And I can't breathe. I'm like, "What is going on? I can't breathe." And I'm yelling, and nobody's listening to me because they're all celebrating. They're having a great
Right.
time. And my dad comes back, and he calls me Bethy. Bethy, what is wrong? He goes, "Honey, everything's good. It's all over. The baby's here. The lawsuit's over. You're good, honey. Just rest." And I'm like, I can't breathe. And he's like, "Yes, you can." And I'm like, "My dad, I can't catch my breath." And he's like, "Well, sit up. You're good. It's okay." And it starts. The
Mm.
hemorrhaging starts. We rush back to the hospital, and in the next 7 days in the hospital, and they come in Christmas Day, and this doctor comes in and says, "Honey, you've got a pulmonary embolism in your lungs." I'm like, "Okay, but we're fixing to have Christmas, and I need to
Right.
go
I don't
home."
I don't have time for
I'm like,
a pulmonary embolism.
and I don't even know what that is. I like literally, I
Right.
have no idea what that is. And I'm like, "Well, we're getting ready to have Christmas, and I
Right.
have family at the house." And he says, "Well, honey, you're not going anywhere."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, I've got family here, and I've got a brand new baby, and I've got to get back." And he said, "Do you not understand?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, those are blood clots in your lungs." And immediately I said, "Oh." And the only thing you ever hear about blood clot and pass away. People
Right.
pass away to
Right.
blood. Okay. So Sid comes up to the hospital, and I start immediately trying to think of someone who can marry him, marry him, and who can love my big kids and
Mhm.
take care of the baby, and who can marry him. I literally was listing names of people who
Right.
could marry my husband.
Mm.
And my mom comes in, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm thinking about someone who can marry Sid." And she goes, "Beth, stop it." And so she gets on the
Good for
phone,
her.
and she calls my sister, and my sister and my brother fly in from Missouri on Christmas Day to be with me. So I get my sister, and I said, "Honey, I need you to put on my pajamas. I need you to go get my baby, and I need you to hold him so he can smell me." So we have this whole huge moment of everybody trying to love. Well, the hospital lets my baby come back to the hospital room to be with me because I think I'm dying, and
Yeah.
I'm literally going crazy trying to
Mhm.
figure who can marry what friend of mine is still single and can at 40 and can still marry my husband.
Bless.
And so it's a crazy Christmas. We finally
Mhm.
celebrate Christmas on January 9th. I get home, and life goes on, and now you see I'm good and I'm
Yeah.
alive, and prayers were
And he is
answered.
too.
He is 16 years old, and my little 5-pound baby is 6 foot tall, plays football, baseball, is wonderful, and he is just a joy.
So how was he as a toddler
He was
baby? I
crazy.
see, okay, I need you in my life because I had a we thought we were done having children after 2,
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah,
And
don't
so
think that ever.
I had a baby after 35 and he is not years old yet. And he has made it very clear that he does not like being the youngest. He does not
Mhm.
like that he has to sit in a high chair when those other two get to
Yes.
sit in regular chairs. So
That is
I don't
my
know if your
that is my Parker.
situation was similar, but
Yeah.
uh, send help.
Parker's very grown,
Yes.
and has a lot of mothers. My, Sarah Beth, our daughter, was very much his mother, still is, very
Yes.
likes to
Yes.
take charge of Parker. She did not like being the middle child all of a sudden because 'cause she'd been the baby
Oh,
for
that's a
13
real
years.
thing
So,
too.
yeah, she plays
Definitely.
that card very well now.
Yes.
She'll hate me for saying that. My older 2 also think that Parker gets away with
Of
everything.
course.
"You didn't do that with us." I'm like,
Yes.
"Yes, I
Of
did."
course.
And they think
I
he's the
just
favorite.
I think that we when those third babies come along just mellow out
We
so
do.
much.
We
We're
do.
just like, you know what? This matters and this I can just let it roll.
Absolutely. And I'm such a different parent. Well, first,
Right.
like, when I was 23 having my first child, and so I was young and dumb, and
Yeah.
life was in such a different place. We were trying to establish, we were trying to make
Exactly.
ourselves. Now I'm kinda like, "This is where we're at, and this is what we're gonna do," and hey,
Yeah.
and
Kids challenge us, like,
very
they
much so.
they challenge us, and so by the time we are, children the children are, in multiples,
Yes.
we got 3 now, we're just like, "Okay, we've been challenged before, so we're just gonna go with
Just
it,"
go
you
with it.
know?
It's
I
okay.
love that.
And
Well, while you were speaking, I was looking to find in, one of the Gospels, I discovered a verse that I did not know existed before, and it was when the angel came to Zechariah, father of John, to announce his birth. Your
Yes.
wife
Yes.
Elizabeth is with child. And he had his mouth shut for the next almost year, 9 months or so, because he did not believe what the angel had
Said.
said. And fortunately, you did not. So that's
Yeah.
great for you. But it kind of reminds me that the angel responded the way that he did because he said something along the lines of, "This is what you have prayed for.
Right.
So
Right.
why are you surprised?" And
Yeah.
it's kind of the
It's
same vein of, ain't you got no religion?
religion.
No, like God has shown up in so many areas of your life, and this is a blessing.
Right.
Why are you surprised? Why are you doubting?
But don't we do that
We do.
all the time? All the time. And even over anything in your life, when
That's
you look
right.
back and say, God was there.
Hmm.
God, you were there.
That's
Why do we get surprised
what we do.
constantly?
And so your faith was that seems to me like it's a very monumental step
Yes.
in your own faith journey. I mean, talk a little bit about that. Like, how are you different now that
I
is so far behind you?
I think it just really changed me in that anything is possible. Like
Mm.
he can do so much. And I think it slowed me down so much. I think I really put work ahead of my family. And it just really showed me that that wasn't who I was.
That's right. It's not your identity.
Exactly.
Like our identity is
It's
in Christ.
right. Right. And and I think I had made that who I was. I think God had, hey, really check out
Right.
who you are,
Let's
who I made
refocus.
you. Yeah.
Yes. And speaking of refocusing, the theme for the CPC for the year is it's a gospel issue. I don't know if you've
I
seen
know.
our gospel issue video. It's on social media. It's on. Um, we've showed it in different churches. The point of that is to kind of do what you just said and just refocus and reclaim the conversation. Because even if you ask church members, I would wager what if you said what kind of an issue is abortion, and they would say, "Oh, well, it's a personal issue," or "Oh, it's too political, so I don't want to get into that," or "It's the medical issue," and it is those things, but
Right.
those things are secondary things. This is a gospel issue. Why do you say that abortion is a gospel issue, having the story that you have?
Well, I think you have to look at it from the very beginning. First, God created us.
Mhm,
It tells us in Psalms 139 that we were knitted in the womb
mhm.
and that birth begins at conception. And I think if you are a believer, if you have faith in God, that you have to believe that.
Mm,
And I think you can't deny that.
mm.
And I think also that it tells us that God um, protects us and that God protects everyone that can't protect themselves. And so that means that unborn child God protects. And so you have to stand firm in that. And whether you are a believer in Christ or whether you are not, that you have to understand that that being is something.
Right. We have to believe that it is something. It's God creates the life,
Right.
right? And so it just breaks my heart when even even people who they, they're Christians, but I'm okay with abortion for medical
Right.
reasons. That's what breaks my heart because a doctor would tell me to abort my baby.
Right.
And the crazy thing to me is that, you know, you're talking about ending a baby's life in utero when the function, talking about anatomy and physiology here, the function of the uterus is not for you,
Right.
right? It
Right.
was it's in you for not you, for the life that is in you. And so that is why it breaks my heart when doctors would suggest you may need to just think about the abortion route.
And that's what I think. What if I had chosen that? Look at my Parker. Look at him. I mean, prayers can be answered and lives can be changed. And even if there were or there had been anything wrong with him, we still would have left. We still would take care of
Mm-hmm.
him. And he still is fearfully and wonderfully made, no matter what he looks like or no matter what challenges we would have faced. And that's what I just can't fathom that. God had a plan for him all along. And that is that's what hurts me. Like, to think that would have been an option. And that's what faith is. There was a song that came out, and this was our theme song throughout my whole pregnancy. It was by Cutlass. That's
Even
what faith
If?
can do.
Okay, Cutlass has another
Okay,
song
even if, yes,
about
and I
even
like that,
if,
even
yes.
if, but that's what faith can do. And it
I know
says,
that song
yeah,
too.
when the world says you can't, it'll tell you that you can. And it says, I've seen miracles happen and silent prayers get answered. And so our music director at the time of the church burned that off on a CD for us, and we played it every time we had to go to the hospital. Every time we went to the doctor, we played that song. I know, because like it was 2009, so we didn't have quite
Oh
the
yeah, I was listening. That's why I kind
And
of perked up when you said
yeah,
Cutlass. I was
it's
listening to Cutlass in
I mean, I
2009, of
love
course.
Cutlass, and like I so bad wanted to write them and like, thank you for this song. You don't know
Yes,
what this song did for me,
yes.
but I didn't know how to reach them. They probably thought, you crazy fan. But now I thought, oh, they might have given me some merch.
Yeah, they might
But
have,
yeah,
you know.
but that's what faith can do. When the world says you can't, it'll say you can. And in Hebrews 11:1, faith is believing what you cannot see.
That's right.
And that's what we did. We
That's right.
believed in what we could not see.
Mm.
And that's just what it is. And we make faith so hard sometimes when it's just so
It is. But it is hard too,
oh,
you
it
know,
is. It
in a
is.
sense. I mean, I heard a really
Because
great quote that doubt says, "What if?" Faith says, "Even if."
even if
And I go back to Daniel chapter 3, three
this
guys that would not bow to the idol
right?
that Nebuchadnezzar set up and said, "When this song plays, all you guys are going to bow,"
Get out.
you know. And they were bold and they said, "No, we're not going to bow down because we believe that God is going to deliver us. But even if he doesn't, we're still not going
We're
to bow.
still not gonna do it.
He's still good."
And think if
You
we
know.
stood up that way today. Sometimes we're so
Exactly.
afraid to go against the crowd. We want
That's
to just
right.
fit in. We don't want to stand out.
That's right.
But we've got to. And we've got
Mhm.
to show our kids that it's okay to stand up for
Yes.
what we believe.
Yes, and that is a great segue to talk about our event that's coming up in just a few
Okay.
weeks. We have our
Yes.
Life Walk coming up,
Yay.
and I'm so excited that the Rankin County Republican Women have a team.
We do, and it's growing every day. We're excited about it because we don't just talk the talk. We're going to walk the walk.
That's right. But I love
Hey.
that your organization is not. I mean, I
We're-
love our church partners,
yes,
but
yeah,
we are trying to push that you don't have to be a church. You can be
exactly.
a knitting club or whatever. You can be,
A-
can I say political organization?
yes, we are.
You know,
We're proud Republican women,
and if it were
we're going to
proud,
walk.
yeah, but if it were any other political group, it doesn't have
Yeah,
to be Republican. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a church to take that stand for life. And I think I'm starting to see more organizations do that. We've got a bank,
yay. Okay, good,
a team that they
good.
formed. So I think that now is the time to be bold in your faith, bold where you stand
Exactly.
and show that. And LifeWalk is a really good way to do that. So is this your first
This
team,
is
like
yes.
first year?
This is our first year to do it as the Rankin County Republican Women. We are very excited. Republicans are pro-life, and we're not afraid to stand up for that.
Mhm.
And the Republican Party is founded on God and faith,
Mhm.
and so we are very excited about that. That is something I did when asked to run as president for the Rankin County Republican Women. I had no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, are you kidding? Politics are kind of new in our family. My husband is the Rankin County Supervisor, District 1. And so kind of just getting our feet wet and all this politics. And I'm like, religion and politics don't really go together,
Yes.
but we have to. If we
Right.
don't have godly people in office, then what do we have?
Right.
If we can't bring our faith forward and really be believers who are going to take stand and do things right, then what do we have? So when I said, okay, I'll submit my name and I'll do that. Then I really had to stand back and I said, okay, God, you've got to use me in this role.
Yes.
So here I am. What better way to be used
Right.
than on the CPC podcast?
Claiming your identity in him, because
Exactly.
it's so funny. You don't really strike me as like a political person. I
'Cause I'm
don't
kinda
talk to you and think I'm talking to somebody in the political world. And I guess it's because there's this stereotype that
Yeah.
it's this old man. He's wearing a tie and he's
Yeah.
really stiff and everything. But I mean, you were just so down to earth and
Well, thank
conversational,
you.
and so I think that
I
you
want to be
represent
approachable. Thank
you
you.
represent that organization so well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
So
Thank you. And that's kind of what I wanted to bring to the club this year. I want us to be approachable. I want
yeah,
us to be not cliquish. I
yeah,
want us to be everybody's welcome, and let's do this together. Let's make
mm-hmm,
this a team effort. And
mm-hmm.
so I think joining the Life Walk this year is a new way to reach different members and a new way to say, hey, this is what we believe in,
Yes,
and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to move forward in
yes.
different aspects and try to get different avenues reached. And
So how big is the group?
right now we're at 103 members, so
Wow,
we are very
not
excited. I
bad.
know, I
All right, Madam
know.
President.
Make my husband call me that.
That's awesome. I make my children call me Your Majesty.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
so
waiting for mine to call me blessed. They rise up and call her blessed. I'm like,
I say I am the queen of my household.
there you go.
It's just
Own
me
it.
and four other guys, and so I said, "This
There
is
you
a
go.
monarchy, and
There you
I
go.
am the monarch."
There you go. Own it.
Okay.
That's right. I
Yes.
love it. I love it. But
So,
we are excited about the Life Walk. I'm really, really looking forward to that.
well, I hope that you bring a whole lot of walkers,
Well,
and so do they understand, kind of how it works about the fundraising, and we keep saying Life Walk is not a 5K, it's not a
thank goodness.
yes, it's not a
Oh.
walkathon, it's not the Olympics, guys. All right.
That part got us
If
really
you
involved.
are, yes, if you are doing this because you have something to prove, this is not for you. Okay. This is
Obviously.
about saving the babies.
Yes, Erin Kate came and spoke to us.
Yes. How
Your
did that
executive,
go?
oh, it was wonderful.
I love
And
her so
I do
much.
too.
She is great.
As I told her, I said, to know her is to love her.
Yes.
She's the sweetest thing. So she came and spoke to our club at our last meeting, and we're doing the baby bottle fundraiser. And then she talked to us about the Life Walk. And so one of our members, Doris Matthews, is like, I'm on it. I want to
Mhm.
be the chair of this,
Mhm.
and got started. And so we've been promoting it and getting our
Yes.
walkers signed up. And then I was reading all about the prizes. I love some prizes.
Oh, well,
I'd
thank
love to be a
you.
winner. So I was
We
like,
work
oh,
hard on those
I'm
prizes.
sure you do. I
Yeah.
know. Sponsorship and all that stuff it's so hard to get everything
Yeah.
going, but it looks like a great package. And
Yes.
so I'm like, oh, we need to win this and this and this. And then I saw, like, if you come all dressed up, I'm like, oh, we love to dress
We
up.
love
And
a good spirit competition. We have a trophy for
So,
you. So,
uh,
shameless plug for the spirit competition. I was
all about
on
that.
staff before I found out about the spirit competition. I've been doing this
Okay.
for 5 years or so, and I
Oh,
didn't know that we
Chrissy,
had a
I
spirit
already
competition.
checked that box.
I
I'm
am
like,
all
ooh,
about it. So, yes, for those who don't know, your teams are competing on the grounds. By the time Life Walk happens, there is no race. It is a celebration, but there's still a little bit of a competition for spirit.
I
So
love that.
last year, I remember the team that won. Their theme was Hard Fought Hallelujah. And so they all
Oh,
wore
cute.
matching pink t shirts, and some of them wore like boxing robes, and they had
How
boxing gloves.
fun.
It was so fun. So
Well,
I'm not going to make you give anything away.
okay.
All right.
Okay. I've already
But
got my wheels burning
but
in here
I'm
going.
very excited
That's
about
fun.
Life Walk this year. And I was also going to extend the invitation to anybody in your group or anybody listening to this podcast, the event that we have on April 16th. We have the mission experience. Now, it used to be labeled clinic tour, but there
Okay.
is so much more to CPC Metro than just the clinic side of things. Scanning bellies is important, but is not the only work that we do. So this is an experience that is very immersive. There, you come, you meet our staff. It's very there's refreshments, and then you get a tour. You get to walk all around the facility, kind of as the client, and then you get to see, the counseling rooms. You get to hear from the prevention department that works with the youth. You get to hear from the abortion recovery department that serves people who maybe even decades out have made the decision to abort and they're struggling. So again, it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning, womb to tomb. We want to love people, where they are. So that is
Okay.
April 16th. So do you have anything else that you would like to share that we did not cover?
Ooh, giving me an open mic, we'll be here all day.
You have been a joy.
Oh, well, thank you. I was so excited about this. I really was. I have been
Yes,
just
now you said this was your
taking
first
notes.
podcast?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
now that's another cool layer that you can add to, for the kids, right?
Absolutely.
You've been on you do
Absolutely.
podcasts
I
now,
mean,
so Hopefully, it
down
won't be
pat.
your last
I
podcast.
hope not. I
You've
hope
done
not.
great.
Well, thank you. You make it
So,
easy.
All
You make it
right.
easy.
Well, we are signing off. Hopefully, we will see everybody listening at our center on April 16th. Follow us on social media for more info on that. And Beth, thank you so much again
Thanks
for
for having
today.
me.
We'll see you guys later.